Hello everybody, welcome back to the garage. We're working on the old blue Willys, and today we're working on everything in the back half of the car, I guess. We have been working on the gas tank. Gas tank came out. We did some stuff on the rear pintle hitch area, which I'll show you in a little bit, and then we're working on the rear shock mounts and cage down tubes. So basically took the tank back out of the vehicle to give access to a lot of that stuff. Working on a few things on the tank, like the made just a simple filler neck, and did the fuel pump mount, which was a formed piece that was hammer formed with some closed back epoxied in rivet nuts. That was I'll include some pictures in here to kind of go through the process, but basically plasma cut a hole and then you bolt on a ring, 3D printed ring for part of the forming, and then we used a press tool to get the cone started, and then finished the cone with a hammer and dolly work while it was in the hammer forming ring, and then took that off, and then did the closed back epoxied in rivet nuts, and then filler neck, and then we have some other stuff on that, waiting on some parts. Basically, I need a special hole saw because this is stainless steel and it's a really big pain in the rear to drill and cut. So I ordered a carbide tipped annular cutter hole saw to do I think they're 1 3/8 holes for the rollover vent valves. So there'll be 2 of those, and then also basically the draw straw, if you will, for the Venturi pump that is going to move the fuel from the front part of the tank to the rear part of the tank continuously using the flow of the return line of the fuel injection system. So that's all in progress, but waiting on some parts. So decided to start working on the back half of the chassis and buttoning some things up. So the first thing back there was doing a brace system for the pintle hitch area. So the stock Jeeps had a pad on the back with the 4 bolts where you could mount a variety of things, basically, and it was commonly a pintle hitch mount. So I put some of that structure back in, filled in that area in the body, and added 2 inch 120 wall diagonal braces that went through that panel to the rear bumper and the first cross member. And there'll be some picks up as I go through this, hopefully, if I can figure that out again. But I thought I'd show you the rear shock mount stuff that I've been working on and explain some of that. So take you guys over here. So this is the driver's side rear wheel well opening. So you can see this was made and formed much, much larger for the 37-inch tires. And then this has custom wider axles. This is a Curry Rock Jock 44 low pinion housing with my full float ends, and then basically a GM bearing hub, 6 on 5.5, that matches the front. And then this is one of my custom electric emergency brake conversions, disc brake conversions. So this is a modern caliper with an electric park brake motor and hydraulic caliper all in one. So I'll come back to that in a second, but basically here is the rear shock mount tube that I made today. So this is basically the back bumper, and then it basically goes up from the bumper, curves outward, and then goes up, and then curves inward, and then basically lands on the plate for the C-pillar of the cage. You can see that up in there, and then up on this side, that's the top part of it, and then the C-pillar for the cage. So this is where the shock mount is going to be. I don't know exactly where, but somewhere on this straight section in here. And then basically I'll show you some of the things that were a little bit. So this is just a mock-up shock. This is not what I'm going to be using on this one, but this is actually going to go on Rango, I think. But you can see they fit up in here like this. And then there's just enough room because the axles are wide enough between the body and the tub, or the tub and the shock, and then the shock and the tire. So, but one of the things I ran into was this park brake motor is just too large being on this side of the assembly. So I am going to swap these left to right and move this all over to here. And so that'll free up this side for the shock mounts down here, and shouldn't be any big deal. So you can see that. And so on this is the simple side. So this is basically just a down tube and a shock mount. I may do some kind of secondary structure off this. I'm still brainstorming on that. It might be a small 1-inch tube that runs up in this corner. Oh, a small 1-inch tube that runs up here and ends over here on this cage pad, just to give it a little bit of structure, and maybe a couple tie-in points up in there. But I'd feel better. This is a pretty big span, if you will, and there's not a lot of triangulation in there. So with this being a shock mount, I want to brace this back to something. So still pondering on that, but so I decided to go with the, let's see if I can get you, whoa, that's bright. Sit down here. So basically decided to go with the integration of the fuel filler into the passenger side version of that. So when I made this one, and no, I didn't just do it all at once and it was perfect. What I did was I used a couple scrap pieces that had I had one 45-degree bend from something else, and so I started with that and did the end profiles that I needed, and then test fit this under the Jeep until I got the right fit, and then I tacked them together. And I did have a pretty cool way to do that, to keep, because these are 90 degrees from each other as far as plane goes. And so I came up with a pretty cool, clever way to do that with a piece of angle iron. And so I'll put that picture right here, and you can see that, because that was probably the highlight of my day. Other than that, it was a lot of cutting and fitting. But anyways, so on the passenger side, I want to integrate the gas tank filler tube into this. And so what I am going to have to do, mind you, this is the opposite version, to do this when I do this on the passenger side, basically this tube here will turn 180 degrees and go the other direction. This is the part here that mounts to the back of the bumper. So what I want to do is I want to make a stainless piece that has essentially the filler neck that goes in, down, and then turns this way, if you can see that, and goes towards the tank. And then I will take these scrap pieces, because they're already fit to where the body stuff needs to be, and I will cut this back apart, and then I will use these pieces to attach to that stainless, probably filler neck, and integrate all those into one piece, I think. It's a flat fender Jeep. It's small. Space is getting pretty tight. So I'm having to get pretty creative with where I put things, especially with a 37-inch tire. And so, yeah, that's that part. And then I will really quickly here, I'll show you what we did in the back with the pintle hitch stuff. So hold on one sec. Let me open the door. It's probably going to be noisy and bright. So on the back here, you can see this pintle hitch part that I added. So this is just a piece of plate basically that's cut out, and then it has holes in it, and these tubes here and here actually pass through it, and then one goes that way and this one goes that way to the frame. And I'll see if I can get you a little sneak peek of that here, if I can see what's going on. So that all is, so that's all tied into the first frame cross member, and just finishes up some of that rear structure. So yeah, thanks for following along. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. It really helps these videos show up in other people's feed. And yeah, I got to order some stainless tubing, I think, to do that filler neck, and hunt down a gas cap that's small that I can make poke out the side of the back of the body. And I'll start welding up this side, or at least weld the piece that's underneath the cage pad for now, and some other things. Hopefully some parts are here in the next day or two. So yeah, thanks for following along with this crazy project, and make sure to subscribe for further updates, and we'll get this thing finished up in the next little bit here. Pretty crazy Jeep. Tons of custom fab. Oh, this is one of my favorite ones. If you stayed around this long, you get to see all the good stuff, I guess. So I pushed out the foot box, so you can see where the original the slope of the floor started was right there. So I pushed that all the way out as far as I could, extended the firewall down, and so this is the only little piece of slope, and that is the same plane as this right here. And basically it lets you have a ton more foot room in these things. Now the pedals basically start where the floor used to be, so it's like adding 3-4 inches of stretch, but it gets tight around the tunnel and some other stuff, but highly worth it if you want to do mods like that. And yeah, well, that's dark, that's bad. Lost my pointer stick. So yeah, there's the fuel pump door, and then give you a little sneak peek over here. Messy, messy, messy. Here's the filler neck. Basically that goes over this hole here. This is that fuel pump mount that we made with the flange on it, and the captured, or the rivet nuts that they have 3M epoxy on the back. So yeah, that is everything for today. Thanks for following along. We'll talk to you later. Bye.